Hello, hello, and welcome to another edition of Maximum Growth Live. I'm one of your hosts, Jay Ruane, CEO of Firmflex, your social media marketing funnels for lawyers, as well as managing partner. Well, actually, maybe not managing partner anymore, but CEO, of course, of Ruane Attorneys, a civil rights criminal defense firm here in Connecticut.
I hate to jump in before my intro, but no, you're still the managing partner. You may be doing puppeteering from outside the room. Sorry to interrupt.
Not a problem. That man over there is Seth Price. Seth is the managing partner of Price Benowitz, DC, Maryland, Virginia, South Carolina lawyers, as well as one of the founders of Blue Shark Digital, SEO for law firms and other industries, and really sort of a thought leader in the SEO space. In talking to you, Seth, over the last couple of years, you guys at Blue Shark were really out in front of some of the local algorithm changes with Google. And it was really sort of inspiring to see that Blue Shark was sort of setting the bar, saying, we think we know where Google's going. And they went exactly there because it's so hard to tame that beast. But as always, Seth, I want to check in with you. How's your week going? How you doing?
Going well, a little under the weather. So I feel like, and when that happens, it's harder to get motivated.
Sure.
You're sort of like the energy level is lower and I didn't go to the office, just stayed from in one sense, very efficient, but in one sense, it's hard to get fired up when you're sort of, and thankfully not COVID, but you're of this world where like, is it COVID? Is it not? But being at the top of a pyramid, you feel like you're letting your team down when you're not fully there and engaged.
Yeah, it's interesting. Talk about engagement. The first topic I want to talk to you about today is last Friday we had a firm advance. We did not call it a firm retreat because we are not retreating. We're advancing and going forward. That was my little pun that I put in there. And my team actually picked up on it at the end of the day. They said, is it called an advance because we're not retreating? I'm like, yep. And they're like, I got it. But anyway, so it was really great. We brought in facilitator Stephanie Everett from Lawyerist. And Stephanie walked us through a number of different exercises. As a team, we broke up my teams into their groups. We utilized technology well. We had all of our overseas people and some of our people who could not travel in be there, but a bunch of people flew in, which was awesome. And for example, Emily and Krista, who were able to fly in. I haven't seen them in person in 8 years. Krista, I've been working with now for 20 plus, and to have not seen her for 8 years is kind of crazy. But we got to do a lot of cool things, and I wanted to talk a little bit about that today because, what I realized after having this event was that I think you need to be conscious about creating a firm-wide event, regardless of whether or not you are all overseas, all in the States, a mix of both, and figuring it out. And we're already planning something like 3 months down the line. We hadn't really done anything all together other than a couple of Christmas parties, holiday parties, and some other events over the years. But
I assume with criminal as a backbone, it's always tough because people are always in court.
It's always in court. Always in court. It was tough for us to schedule everybody out of the office for the day.
And you did it on a weekday.
We did it on a Friday. Stephanie came in, sat with me the day before, and we talked about our goals and everything. But yeah, we did it all day on Friday, and
that's just awesome. I speak for myself. We've done, in non-COVID times, and now coming back, we've always done our holiday parties, our summer parties. We did 2 kickoffs, which were social. And we do team meetings. We're trying to implement stuff, but I love that. And especially with the overseas teams, I think that's one of the things we forget about is that other people get at least a touch point when they come into the office, but you have a growing percentage of your firm that's never going to see the inside of your office, and that getting those relationships and touch points really, really valuable to make them stickier employees.
Well, we're 50% fully remote now. Which is, I've got 30 plus people.
But of the 50%, how many of those other 50, are stateside, and how many have been in the office at some point, even if it's years ago?
So of the 15, 5 have been in the office, 10 of them are fully remote. Although the interesting thing that came up is 4 of my 10 fully remote people have actually gone ahead and gotten visas renewed and passports renewed because they want to come up and come to the office and work out of the office for a week, which was amazing to me that they would leave their homes, come to the United States planning on working for a week in the office. They're like, I'll bring my laptop and I'll work.
And I know the headline's going to be learning about this, but I'm going to play. I love this section of Reddit. Am I the asshole? So I'm going to play the game for myself for a second. What are your thoughts on this? Because it goes hand in hand. I'm not going too far ADHD on you. So we have a relatively new part-time employee, and they came in for a specific task. And for me, the question was, they were brought on, they weren't trained well. That happens. Like it was a job where the prior people's manual wasn't ideal. The person who trained them wasn't up to speed. It was a cluster, admitted. So I said, okay, it's time for a reset. You've done this before, I'm sure, where you're like, hey, it didn't get off to the right foot. This person's a rock star, so it's not for lack of talent, but they live, let's say, an hour to 2 hours outside the office. It's a remote position. My idea was, if you're going to do a reset, and we've never had this person inside the office, they're not in Ecuador, they're not in South Africa. They're like, an hour and a half away. And we said, hey, look, let's get an in-person reset, because if you're doing things, part of the portfolio is working with reviews and newsletters, like how much of a difference would it be if you could be in the same room? It's doable without. And I got tremendous pushback. Really? Oh, my husband works and I can't get him. My babysitter I trust isn't free till April. All sorts of nonsense. You have two choices in life, right? The Jay Ruane answer is like, F it, they're done. I'm just one of the answers I want to hear from you. The other is, okay, you play ball, you try to tweak it, you sort of kick the can a few weeks and you say, hey, it's really important. You give it a second sort of nicer push. What are your thoughts on that when somebody can make it to the office? And it's not an office job, but to me, if you have the ability to be in the office and you have a job that's dealing with people and getting stuff from people, there's a certain value of doing everything remote. But when you know somebody and you sat in their office for a minute, it changes relationships. The reason you did your offsite was to strengthen and make up for the fact that everybody can't be in the same room. What are your thoughts on this? The fact that I'm sort of bent out of shape on somebody pushing back versus, it is who the person is.
So let me get some more facts out of you before I opine. So you wanted to have them reset. So they were going to come in for a week.
No, like a day, part of, come after rush hour, leave before rush hour, but at least get to see some people, see our physical office, which if you want somebody to be able to advocate for you, and one of the jobs is, helping follow up on reviews and putting stuff together with collateral material for newsletters, things like that. To me, you could do everything remotely. And, there are people from overseas that are never going to be in your office. I get that.
Right.
But if you have the ability and you're turning that down, to me, it's almost like you're making a statement. You're not.
Yeah, I'd have some problems if you couldn't come in for a 4-hour window in the middle of the day when we're paying you, because all you found was excuses. I mean, there's a value to come have lunch with everybody. Just that. And break bread and just, and that was one of the benefits. I mean, I think the people, it was very interesting to me when we had our breakout and our lunch, how wide the variety was. I would have thought that people would have been cliquish, like the lawyers sat with lawyers and that type of thing. And at lunch, there was a lot of variety of who was sitting with whom, which I think really worked well for our event. And the other thing that I think that really worked well for our event was that we discovered that after we broke them into teams, lawyers, legal operations, which is the paralegals and the receptionists, intake and marketing and that type of thing, what we found was that internally the teams were really firing on all cylinders, really doing well, but we had a lot of breakdown in a very discrete area. Teams were not doing a good job communicating with each other.
Not surprising. It's the hardest thing, right?
It's the hardest thing. But we were able to identify, like we have one lawyer, right? Older lawyer who was upset that reception wasn't buzzing him on his desk phone at his office when somebody was on the phone. They would send a Slack message, and he said, well, why are they not just buzzing my desk? And we discovered, well, they don't know that you're at your desk.
Right.
You don't come in and say, hey, everybody, I'm going to be at my desk. This is my extension. I'm here for the next 5-hour block. they're like, well, maybe he's in court today, or he hasn't gotten back, or maybe he's working from home, or on his bless you.
Thank you.
I won't keep you too long today, Seth. I know you're a little ill, but we found a very easy solution. Hey, there's a Slack channel for reception. Just announce when you get to your desk, and that solved all that problem. But it had been something bothering him, bothering reception, and there had been no communication on how to solve it. And we solved it in about a minute when we were all together, and everyone said, "Hey, I have a solution." And I think that's one of the things that maybe more than ever, a firm retreat or whatever, when you start to talk about what's going well and what the problem is, you can actually identify and solve those things. And we were lucky to find that the communication issue between teams was a problem, but it was very solvable. And so we were happy with that. And that was certainly something. And then, of course, we're talking about vision. And I think we are all of the same vision now. And I think that's important to do some vision building exercises.
Let me ask you this, because that was, we've gone through the EOS thing, and there's mission statements, and there are people that put it out everywhere. How did you come to that? Because you have a bunch of different practice areas. How did you figure all that out?
So my mission statement, I wrote myself, and I got the feedback from 2 lawyers in the office. I said, here's our mission statement. I would like to publish this to everybody. And I published it back at the State of the Union because I'll be honest, I saw a lot of lawyers doing mission statements, and I thought it was hokey. And I said, I don't need to do this. It's not important. But at some point I just said, you know what? If ever all these companies are doing it, they're doing it for a reason. And it's because it gives you an opportunity to sort of rally around something. And I think even if you're a solo and you're looking to grow, establish your mission statement now. And we've gone so far in the last 4 months now, we put it in our job postings. Here's our mission statement. If you buy in, apply. If you don't even bother applying. And
right, and well, to a certain extent, look, I'm sure it's not like it's a controversial statement, but it's just you're basically giving somebody a hook to resonate. And
right.
If somebody is like, this really doesn't, they'll stay away. Hopefully, that's not a huge you're not like it's not like there's something in there that says I don't want that as my mission.
Right. No, absolutely. I mean, we talk about in our mission statement, we talk about how education is important and how we're brutally honest with each other to get the best for our clients, those types of things. But it was great seeing it in practice. And we actually lived some of those core values in our firm retreat, where people were honest with each other. We were looking to give the best to our clients and what can we do better. And, one of the things that came out, and this has nothing to do with our current topic, but it just popped into my mind. One of the things that really popped out to me was our remote team, which is basically reception and intake right now. And we have 3 that are paralegals in training, but the most of the client contact was going to be done with our reception and our intake team. They decided on their own and came to me and they said, we need a tutorial on culture of Connecticut. They're like, we need to know what's the state like. I mean, we actually have one overseas person who grew up here in Massachusetts and knew a little bit about Connecticut, and she said that it was very easy for her to talk about her time in Massachusetts and when she started talking to clients. But I put together some basic facts about pizza and baseball and football and that type of thing, and the coastline and the capital and some history of Connecticut. I'm putting together sort of like a 20 to 25 video tutorial about what our area is like and why we like it and what our clients are like. And I think that's going to help our overseas people sort of connect with our clientele, because now they have at least the understanding of a touch point that if I had stateside people who lived here, they'd have those shared touch points. But that's just something that if you have remote workers, it might be something worth investing in and putting that together, even if you are just starting with one. Because one of the things that we found early on when we had remote workers was that people would call in and be like, "Oh, I have to go to the office. Can you give me directions?" And the remote team would be like, "I'll read it to you." And they would read them the directions, and they would get them into the office park and then not be able to describe what next. So we actually created videos.
To be fair, office parks in Connecticut are, even if
great,
you worked there for 20 years, you can't really explain it.
Exactly. And so by doing that, the thing that it's crazy. We put together my video guy put together a video of the process of getting to our office, and the people who liked it the most were the intake and reception team. They loved it because it gave them, oh, okay, this is where it is, and I can see things now, and it really helps. So that's just some tips or tricks that you might be able to use. But as somebody who for 20 years was against the idea of a firm retreat where we talked about the business, thinking it's my way, I'm the only one making decisions, and that's the only way it's going to be. I was very pleased with having done something. I think our next thing is to separate the teams and have individual team retreats so that they can really get into the weeds on their issues and how to make it better.
That's awesome.
I think we're getting there.
So look, I came out of big law, and to a fault, I think I fighting back. There were so many worthless, stupid meetings that were meaningless to the people working there, and that the meetings we did have really didn't have any effect on the rest of the firm. That I've always resisted. I've never been a big speech person at holiday parties. I've had to put that back because there was a demand for it. That was people want that leadership. I'm going to throw an off-topic thing, but it comes right into what you're talking about, which is that buy-in. We just had, and Gary Falco's talked about this many times. We just had a recorded call from one of our top intake people, and it was scary bad. It was bad enough that it should have been termination at that moment. You sort of like take a few moments of rehabilitation. Is this a bad day? Is this whatever? But this was a lost opportunity where all it would take would be giving a shit. And we've had a changing of the guards. We brought back a former rock star to run the team. A lot of good stuff going on. But when you see these things, my question in the back of my mind, as you're saying this, is if I did have these things, would this energize people who may have, in the emotional ups and downs of COVID? I'm struggling with a teenager who's really not done well with COVID. Read about it, hear about it. I'm living it, right? A kid who's just lost all, direction and sort of drive with COVID. I assume our employees go through that as well. I applaud you for doing this, because I think it's one of those areas that, to us at some level reinvigorates you and makes you realize it's more than you working out of your isolated silo.
Yeah, it's interesting. I watched that show Billions on Showtime, and they have Maggie, what's her name?
I love her.
She plays a psychiatrist role, psychologist, I think
at the hedge fund.
At the hedge fund. And, while I would love to have something like that our people could step into and sort of get their mind straight as they go, I don't necessarily think it's required at the level that we're playing, but these quarterly meetings really sort of reinforce that we are here together, we are working towards something, and I think it coming out of it, there's a renewed sense of optimism, there's a renewed sense of energy. I will tell you this, my sales team, now my marketing team, worked their ass off for months to get to a point, but with our leads on Monday, they more than they did like 150% of their weekly sales goal on Monday. They came into the day really fired up, and they crushed it. And today they're continuing to crush it. So they're all fired up about it, which is awesome. Because, if you have the sales, if you have the marketing generating the leads and the leads closing, you're going to be in a better position down the line. And we made some tweaks to our how we charge people. That's going to generate another $100,000 worth of revenue this year, and it seems to be working already, because people are not objecting to the way we finance some of our clients. So yeah, I mean, it's we seem to be coming out of this in a really great spot. Of course, the last time we were in a really great spot was 2 years ago, right around now, when we had two record-setting sales weeks back to back, and then the bomb dropped and the world collapsed. But I don't think we're going to go through that again, even if there are spikes in the near term. I think I think we're in a good position, and I'd like to keep riding this wave. And so we're already planning something in June that's going to be purely fun. And the way we're doing it is we're looking for an online entertainer so that we can have our overseas people participate as well. Because we really want to give them, and then we're going to do something, a breakout here in Connecticut for the lawyers, obviously, that are here in Connecticut, where we take them out and do a separate event. But we'll have a firm-wide entertainment thing with the remote people, and it'll be a lot of fun. And it'll be all fun, no work, which I think is important to balance.
And as I said, that's what I've always been good at, is the fun. I wasn't good at, but I really applaud what you did there. That's just tremendous.
I'm feeling really good. I got some pushback from some of the lawyers here.
Did you do a full day, or did you do a half day, or what'd you do?
So we started at 9. We went till 3:30, 4 o'clock ish, and then we quickly went out for cocktails. A bunch of us afterwards. After showing a few of the people who had flown in the office, which they had never seen, we stopped by the office. And then we quickly headed out, had some cocktails, and got into some fun conversations, not work related whatsoever. So I think it really served its purpose, and I'm happy with it.
That's awesome.
Happy with it. So
we got a lot. Part of I've always, and I think for a lot of our audience, one of those things, and I know you've been sort of thinking about how to mastermind certain groups and bring people up to speed. I think it's great to do all these things. The question is, can you execute? So the fact that you sort of taken in these different ideas and then brought that as a day-long event, I gotta figure that out. But applaud you for doing that internally.
Yeah, and one of the key things for me coming out of this is that we've already tasked one of our my assistant to start looking for things that we can do online as a group in June. So we're not waiting. We're attacking it. We're taking we're going on the offense to try to get these things lined up, to give people waypoints to be looking for. One of the things that's interesting is that if you look, I think we've grown year over year. We're at about 30% growth. I mean, I might even apply for that law firm 500 because we seem to be crushing it this year. But if you go back to 2019, we're at 19% growth over 2019 numbers. So by seeing where we are and where we can go, I think we're in a good spot. And that's why I said, I reached out to you over the weekend and said, my heart is with the criminal defense community. I know I've done PI, I've done family, I've done other things, but I really want to put together sort of like an accelerator for criminal law firms, because I think I have some knowledge in the industry that I can help get them to the place where I'm at. And I gotta tell you, I'm sure tomorrow the hammer's gonna fall. Something's gonna happen on Friday, and things are gonna change. But today, I'm feeling good.
Well, that's awesome. Well, let's end on a high note.
It's probably because it's Patty's Day, right? This is my day for my people, and I'm not heading into the city tonight for my annual dinner.
Well, as I said, next year in New York, I've wanted to accompany you to that dinner for a lot to make that happen.
Yeah, they're doing it at Cipriani this year. It was like $600. They have who's that Scott? Who's that senator or his congressperson who's married to Gabby Giffords, the astronaut?
Yeah.
He's one of the speakers. It looked good, but it just didn't work with what I needed to do for my family. And of course, me, that's why I do what I do, is to let them do first. But you should come up in 2 years, because the dinner's going to be on Friday night, and then you can march in the parade with me and my father under the County Mayo banner. And either that or my aunt, who's on the parade committee, can hook you up with some seats in the viewing section if you don't want to walk the 30 blocks with me. But I could see Seth Price marching in the parade with me.
As I said, that was always every Politico was there. I remember in the early days of Ed Koch to everybody else. It's the one day everybody in New York is smiling.
I gotta tell you though, one of the most, I don't want to call it magical because it comes by way of a depressing situation, but I was at the parade in 2002 after September 11th, and at I think what the first tower fell at 9:49 or something like that. And at that point, I was right next to. They had 343 flags held by 343 new fire recruits that were just about to be put on duty, and the entire parade stopped, and they turned and faced the towers, and they had a moment of silence. Midtown Manhattan, absolute silence. It was stunning, stunning. I'm sure there's clips of it you can catch on YouTube. I'll see if I can find one and put it up in the comments. But man, I gotta tell you, it's a great parade, and only the crazy Irish would march in a parade when it's not necessarily warm out yet, and it's usually rainy and wet. So those are my people, Seth. So that's how I roll. I'm gonna pop out of here, go home, have a Guinness, and have a good rest of the day.
We'll
You got any
enjoy.
plans?
No, well, I hope just to recover, get myself back in shape so I can continue kicking ass.
All right, well, feel better. For everybody here at Maximum Growth Live, I am Jay Ruane. If you want to catch up with me, you can join my systems group, Systemizing Your Law Firm for Growth. And he is Seth Fitzprice, or Seth O. Price, however you want to say.
I'll leave you with this story as we conclude. My wedding, married to Mayflower in DC, and they have like one premier suite, and I lost the suite for our wedding night because we got married St. Patrick's Day, and I guess it was we were married the day after, but the Irish Prime Minister the Irish head of state does not spend it in Ireland. He comes to the US every year for St. Patrick's Day, and Mayflower is his residence, and they hold on to his room, not just for the night he's there, but until he leaves US airspace. And so wow. Because of that, we lost. So I was a little bitter about that, but I've gotten over it in the intervening 16 years. And this weekend we'll be in New York for 16th anniversary.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, I mean, usually the prime minister is at our dinner. I mean, back in the day, 15 years ago, the dinner would have, 3,500 men there in tuxedos or Roman collars or military dress. It's gone down. It's probably about 1,200 men and women now for the Friendly Sons of St. Patrick. But our first guest, as I am a friend, one of the Friendly Sons, our first guest at the first dinner that we had as an organization, George Washington was the guest of honor. Awesome. So, little historical.
Have a great weekend. And,
have a great day, folks. And we'll see you next week. Bye for now. That's cool.
Hey, if I hit the city on Friday, is it?